have some libations and some Wheatley in my back pocket. Tonight's episode of Smackdown was painfully average. There were a couple things I thought were great, which are really just an announcement, and then, obviously the Bloodline is the only thing that really means anything anymore. It's the only thing that's interesting and executed in a somewhat good manner. It has a couple flaws here and there, right? But it's pretty much just the only thing that matters and the only thing that's good, right? This was on point tonight, but unfortunately, Cody Rhodes, the WWE Champion who took the Cena schedule, which we're going to get to in a little bit, he does absolutely nothing tonight and doesn't do anything. He doesn't contribute anything at all, and for some reason LA Knight wasn't on the show, and we're going to get to that special announcement later that Nick Aldis made that has me pretty excited for the future of the women's division. Now let's jump into what started off the show. What started off the show was Roman and Jimmy Uso. They came out to the ring, got a massive pop, obviously. Everyone's raising their ones to the sky, the OTC chants are blaring. Roman lifts up the mic and he's about to say something, and then Jey Uso comes out. Jey Uso comes out in the classic, red gear, supporting the OG Bloodline colors, the red and everything like that, the red and white he's got on. It's a pretty nice shirt. And he comes out and he basically tells Roman, look, I need you to hear Sammy out, because if you hear Sammy out, we may possibly be able to reunite the Bloodline and fight against Solo and his Bloodline, man. Give him a chance, he's family, the usual stuff. Sami Zayn then comes out to the ring, and I actually liked what Sami Zayn said here tonight. I know it sounds crazy because I'm usually bashing Sami Zayn, but quite frankly, the best moments of Sami Zayn's career have taken place when he's involved with the Bloodline, right? So obviously when he's accelerated by this Bloodline story, it makes him entertaining and it makes him fun to watch and fun to hear from on the promos. In this promo, he basically says, Roman, the kick I did to you at Crown Jewel was absolutely accidental, okay? I didn't mean to do it. It wasn't personal. However, it did feel great, and I know you felt great with all four of us in the ring teaming up one more time, man. He said it brought back the feeling of 2022 when we were running the WWE. And this is just a feel-good part of the promo. It's like, this is relatable, it makes sense to the story, and it works. Why wouldn't he bring up the OG great days of the Bloodline? Why wouldn't he bring up the best time of his career when he was in the Bloodline? You get what I'm saying? It makes perfect sense. So Sammy already is cutting promos that actually make sense, which sounds like the bare minimum, but 90% of upper card or mid card wrestlers can't do that today. So I'll take this, Sami Zayn. Thank you, bro, for bringing up something that us, the fans, actually remember and we cared about, which was the OG Bloodline. After this, he's pretty much like, look, even though it wasn't personal, I know personally that you do not hate me, Roman. You actually love me. And Sammy's pointing out like different moments where they used to laugh in the backstage segments. Him and the Usos used to get Usi, you know what I'm saying? He doesn't drop the Usi line, but we all know he's alluding to that. They were winning gold. He had the classic handshakes with Jimmy and Jey, and Roman was always laughing with the wise man. All of those things that took place were absolutely awesome, right? And Sammy just retracts all those memories and brings it to now and says, Roman, I know you don't hate me. You love me, and we can bond together and we can team up again to bring back those old vibes and obviously reunite the OG Bloodline, the OG family that he was originally a part of, to beat the new Bloodline of Solo, right? And take back what's ours. And Roman Reigns basically, during this, he has like a couple smirks here and there because Sammy's kind of making him laugh. Jay's laughing off as well. Jimmy's got a smile on his face. This is a fun, feel-good segment until Sammy asks Roman, I want an apology. He says, I need you to give me an apology, okay? I need this one thing from you if we're going to do this again and run this back. And Roman's like, okay, I apologize to Jey, because Sammy wants him to apologize to Jey for what he's done. So Roman apologizes to Jey. I apologize for wasting my time with Sami Zayn. You know what I'm saying? And the crowd deflates. They're like, oh, come on. So Roman's like, no, we're not doing this with Sammy. He's not blood. He's not family. And he doesn't matter to us whatsoever, right? And then after that, Sammy kind of walks away, and that's the end of this segment. However, right after this, we get a segment backstage where Roman's talking down to the Usos. And if you remember a couple weeks ago, Jey Uso said if Roman tries to talk down to Jey and treat him as lesser than him, Jey Uso is going to walk out. So Jey's upset, and he walks away from Roman. He's like, look, if you do this again, I'm done for good, man. You got your one strike. You're done if you do it again. And then Roman also talks down Jimmy and says, go find your brother, boy. And then Jimmy just looks at him with a scowl and then walks away as well. And that's pretty much the situation with that. Then after this, we're going to get back to the Bloodline later tonight, don't you worry. And I really like how they passively shed light on the fact that Roman's ego and his old, tribal chief nature, that demonstrative nature and personality he had around his, family, I like how he still kind of carries that with him, and it's something that he has to overcome. It makes the story more interesting and engaging when they're not just glossing over elements and they're actually still relating back to things where it's like, oh yeah, Roman was still selfish, he still did these bad things, and those traits are still with him that he has to still overcome, right? So it gives a meaning meaning for why this story is still going and why this is even happening in this OTC arc, right? So it makes sense and it makes you interested. I just thought about that on the fly, actually, as I was listening back to this video. So yeah, good story element. However, next the match was Candice LeRae versus Bayley. We are nearly going to skip this match. The reason why is because nobody cares what happens during this match. Candice LeRae ended up losing off of a roll-up, right? She faked an injury and then tried to roll up Bayley from behind. It didn't work. Bayley and Candice LeRae are both undercarders. Yes, you heard that correctly. Bayley, the same woman who is one of the four horsewomen, is an undercarder. She doesn't contribute any good segments. She doesn't contribute good promos. Her matches are wrestled in slow motion, and they have a couple botches, at least a couple botches per match. They're not smooth, and she's not contributing anymore. The sooner you realize this, the better. Bayley, at this point, honestly, is heading towards retirement within the next 5 years. Within the next 2 years at this point. Her WWE Championship reign was built up to for months. She finally did it, and it sucked. It sucked. So now what's next? What's next? Nothing. So we're skipping over this match. It wasn't good. Nothing happened. It was slow. It was botchy. And both of these people are jobbers. Maybe they can go compete for the mid-card Women's U.S. Championship that's introduced later. But we're going to get back to the women's division a little later. Then we had Tommaso Ciampa. Tommaso Ciampa cut a actually pretty decent heel promo in the backstage where he was basically like, Johnny, why are you siding with the Motor City Machine Guns? They took our spot. They took the titles that we could have had and that we were screwed out of, and you're trying to play buddy-buddy with them? This is nonsense. It's unacceptable. And he delivers it in a very intense way that makes sense according to his character. And this more frustrated and villainous side of Tommaso that we see a little bit later on SmackDown is actually kind of interesting. It's good because he portrays it well. It's clear to see that between these two jobbers, Tommaso Ciampa is obviously better than Johnny Gargano and serves a bigger purpose for this company going forward. So quite frankly, I would turn Tommaso Ciampa heel, have him beat the crap out of Johnny Gargano and write him off of TV for 5 months, and then you fire Johnny Gargano, fire his wife Candice LeRae, and after you do that, have Tommaso Ciampa fight LA Knight and lose to him for the US title, right? That's what this should be. Tommaso Ciampa can actually serve as a decent undercard heel or a decent mid-card heel for the rest of his career. Johnny Gargano, on the other hand, can serve as a nice undercard jobber in AEW. So that's the situation with this. Then we get this dumbest segment of the night. This is when things just got bad. They got better as the show went on, but this was a moment where things just dipped to an all-time low. Randy Orton comes out. Randy Orton's upset. He's pissed off about what happened at Crown Jewel when Kevin Owens basically elbowed him through a table, right? And beat the crap out of him. Because now we're at a point in WWE where Kevin Owens, a guy who self-proclaimed himself as a jobber, basically said, he said to Cody Rhodes right before Bash in Berlin, he was like, look, I haven't done anything in years. I haven't won any championships. I don't deserve to fight you for the belt, right? Kevin Owens' words coming straight from his mouth. He called himself an undercard jobber, pretty much. And then he goes out and he's beating up Randy Orton. And then he comes out tonight. Him and Randy Orton are fighting, right? The security guards always come in. They separate people. They separate Roman they separate KO and Randy Orton, right? After they do this, the security guards, I guess, just go blind or go dumb. And then all of a sudden, Kevin Owens breaks through them, kicks Randy once in the gut. Let me mind you, Randy Owens was punching Kevin Owens in the face like time after time after time and, stomped him twice. Kevin Owens just no-sells it and gets right back up, kicks Randy once in the gut, and then botches a pile driver, which I'm going to show the screenshot here. Randy Orton's head, I understand the pile driver is dangerous and it's not supposed to be executed, right? It's broken necks. I'm pretty sure it's broken Stone Cold Steve Austin's neck, right? And at the end of the day, it's a dangerous move. I understand that, right? But why are you not executing it to the point where it at least looks, that it at least looks, sorry about that, guys, at least looks somewhat realistic? Kevin Owens does it, and Randy's head never even passes Kevin Owens' legs. Like, Randy Orton, he gets lifted up like 2 feet off the ground and gets dropped instantly. There's no height on it. There's no damage. It looks like the most undamaging move ever. It's so poorly done. It has to at least look realistic, right? Like the Canadian drivers that are like similar to pile driver in terms of the way it looks, right, between Carmelo and Andrade, actually look realistic, right? It looks realistic and they're able to do it safely without, anything going wrong. Why is it that this looked like one of the fakest pile drivers ever? And after this happens, they play this whole thing where Randy's carried out on a stretcher, and as he's being carried out on a stretcher, he's like holding his fingers up like Tua Tagovailoa did after he got like that concussion a couple years ago versus the Bengals. If you guys know what I'm talking about, it's an NFL quarterback. He got a concussion, and he was like holding his fingers up in like weird signs and stuff like that because his brain was like, damaged or whatnot. And Randy Orton pretty much does a similar thing. He's holding his hands up acting like he has nerve damage and that he can't move. And he's making these weird noises as they put him in the ambulance and bring him to the back. He's like, and the camera's like zooming in on him. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? What are you doing? one of the most botched and fake-looking pile drivers ever, puts this dude in an ambulance. So now Randy Orton's going to get written off for 2 or 3 months off TV. He's going to come back and probably fight Cody Rhodes for the WWE Championship and lose. And speaking of Cody Libation Rhodes, this dude comes out, right, while Kevin Owens is beating the crap out of Randy Orton and they're going head-to-head, and KO hits him with a pile driver and stares at him for like 4 minutes, Cody decides, hey, I'll just sit backstage and do nothing. But then when Kevin Owens is cleared out, all of a sudden Cody Rhodes is out there near the side of the ambulance trying to help Randy get into the ambulance. And he's his best friend and he's there for him now. Where were you when Randy Orton was getting beat up? Where were you? Where were you at Crown Jewel when Randy Orton was getting beat up? You were doing nothing. Absolutely nothing. But now all of a sudden you want to show up and get in the ambulance and take a ride in the Wheatley bus? The Wheatley Libation bus? Like, come on, man. I'm sick of this WWE champion just doing nothing. It's the same thing with Nia Jax, which we're going to talk about her in a second. She does nothing. Nobody contributes anymore. Your WWE champion, for this episode of SmackDown, showed up, got in an ambulance, and left. That's all he did this episode. He didn't brawl with anyone. He didn't fight for his best friend. He just got in an ambulance and walked away like a wimp, which makes him seem like he's scared of Kevin Owens. While Kevin Owens is on a rampage, Cody's nowhere to be found, right? The John Cena schedule, this dude doesn't even want to fight an undercard jobber like Kevin Owens right now. It's absurd. It's absolutely nonsense. And the fact that Randy Orton has having one of the worst years of his career is insane. He lost to Logan Paul at WrestleMania. He lost the Fatal 4-Way at the beginning of this year to Roman, in that match with Roman, LA Knight, AJ Styles, and then Orton. He lost that match at Perth, and at Perth, Australia, at the Elimination Chamber this year. He loses that match and gets knocked out by Logan Paul. And then what happened, right? He lost at WrestleMania. Then at Backlash, he loses to Tama Tonga and Solo Sikoa. Then after that, he loses to Gunther, who has wrestled maybe, 6 matches all year this year? And he loses to Gunther at King of the Ring. And he doesn't even lose because his shoulder wasn't even down. Then he loses again at Bash in Berlin. He loses at Money in the Bank. He loses and gets destroyed at Crown Jewel. He didn't even start the match. He just gets beat down. It's a shame. Randy Orton was once a legend, a great heel, and now he can't win anything. He's losing to undercard and midcard jobbers and getting brutalized by an undercard bum like Kevin Owens. It's ridiculous. Kevin Owens has talent, but for Randy to get being treated like this is absurd, man. We need to bring back Bald Orton in his prime, because this is a shame, dude. It's absolutely ridiculous the fall from grace this dude has had. It's ridiculous, man. After this, we get Tommaso Ciampa pretty much beating up Pretty Deadly by himself and showing that he's gone on an absolute rampage and an absolute rage monger. And honestly, I like this version of Tommaso Ciampa. I never thought I'd be saying that, but honestly, this version's a little bit entertaining, okay? So that's that. Then we get Bianca and Jade versus Tiffany and Nia Jax. This match was absolute mid. Nobody cares about this match. Nia Jax consistently loses every match that she's in. It's the same thing with Tiffany Stratton. It's the same stuff, right? They're not winning any matches, but we're supposed to believe that Nia Jax is some big annihilator threat, even though she felt more like a threat earlier in this year when she was feuding with Rhea Ripley and Becky Lynch, which were actually 2 pretty solid feuds in their own right with decent matches. But for some odd reason, we've moved on for that, and she's gotten worse since she's won this belt. It's the same stuff. Will she? Will she not? Will Tiffany Bum Stratton cash in, or will she not cash in? It's the same stuff. Nia Jax, they're about to win her. Apparently, Tiffany Stratton is getting distracted because Candice LeRae comes ringside and pushes Bianca off the turnbuckle, and Tiffany's like, no, I don't need your help. I don't need your help. And then because she's distracted, Bianca Belair catches her lacking, hits her with the KOD, and that's the end of the match, right? What is this setup? I don't know. I don't care. Next week, we're getting Naomi versus Nia Jax in a championship match. Great. It's happening on SmackDown, which means nothing is going to happen in this match. Nia Jax is going to walk out as champion. I'm sure Tiffany will fake cash in, or Candice LeRae will beat Tiffany up, or help Nia Jax beat Naomi in that match, therefore making it way for, Tiffany Stratton to eventually cash in on Nia because she feels betrayed. It's stupid. It makes no sense. It's absolutely garbage. Then we get the Motor City Machine Guns. The Motor City Machine Guns are garbage. They're garbage. They're literally Johnny Gargano times 2. I'm not even going to say DIY anymore because Tommaso has earned my respect, right? His work as a heel tonight, at least, has been decent. Does it make up for the last few months of him being the last pretty much career of his being an undercard jobber? No, not necessarily. But at least he's showing that he can be more than just a good tag team wrestler. He can be a decent undercard heel as a solo wrestler, right? But Johnny Gargano cannot do that. Just like the MCM, the Motor City Machine Guns, are garbage. They get no reaction from the crowd. They come out talking about some, raise your fist. Raise your fist. And guess what the audience doesn't do? Raise their fist. Because nobody cares. You get no reaction, and nobody cares what they have to do. They're literally just as good of a wrestler as Johnny Gargano is, and as Tommaso Ciampa is. They're the same thing as DIY, but arguably worse. They're old, they have weird haircuts, and they get no reaction from the crowd. So why do they have the belts? Why do they have the belts? If the Street Profits do not take the belts off these dudes next week, I honestly don't know what to say. I really don't. They get no reaction. They're old. They don't do anything unique, right? Montez Ford can do the same moves as them, and he's like 8 inches taller and like 50 pounds heavier, and he can do more moves than them at a better rate and in a more convincing way. So there's just no excuse for these guys being tag champs. It's absolutely unacceptable. They beat Austin Theory and Grayson Waller. Do you care? Do I care? Absolutely not. Then after this, we get the announcement of the Women's Mid-Card Championship, man. The Women's Mid-Card Championship is going to be called the Women's United States Championship. And honestly, this belt actually looks pretty decent. It's obviously a carbon copy of the Men's U.S. Championship. The only difference is that it's a little bit smaller, obviously, to scale. Because, look at LA Knight, you know what I'm saying? And then look who's going to hold this title, which is probably going to be like Chelsea Green or, some other jobber, right? I mean, come on. You got to make the belt a little bit smaller, obviously. But anyways, that doesn't matter. What matters is that the women's division, in the mid-card specifically, is finally going to get elevated. Women who week to week have nothing to do and are not being showcased whatsoever, here you go. You finally have a chance to be showcased and compete for something. And I love this. I love this for the women's division. I think this is going to be great. Me personally, I think that Chelsea Green is going to win this championship. I know it's a cliche pick, but realistically, look at the women's division on SmackDown, right? Who else is going to compete for this title? Right? Chelsea Green is an option. Tiffany Stratton is an option, but she's probably not going to win because she has the money in the bank, right? So why would she win this if she's going to end up winning the women's championship probably within the next couple months? You have Naomi, who's a valid option. I'd be down with Naomi winning it, and I'd be down with Tiffany winning it if she could, but she's not going to. And I would obviously be down with Chelsea Green winning it. Now, guys like me, or girls like Michin, Piper Niven, Blair Davenport, who I honestly don't know how she's not fired like Indy Hartwell at this point, but hey, that's none of my business, right? Candice LeRae will likely be competing for this as well. Who knows? Nia Jax may start forming a friendship with Candice LeRae, and eventually Candice LeRae will probably be able to, maybe Nia will cost someone a match in order so that Candice LeRae can get the W and advance in the tournament that they're probably going to do to win this mid-card championship, right? Who knows what's going to happen with this belt? I'm just glad that the women are getting some more shine and that there's something that the mid-card and the lower-card women's wrestlers can actually do now. It's very exciting to see what's going to happen with that, and I've been asking for this for months, right? The only thing that I will say about this, I do wish that both Raw and SmackDown competitors in the mid-card and undercard women's division could compete for this belt, because that way, even if someone from Raw makes it into the bracket and wins the women's mid-card championship, at least they can go to SmackDown with the women's belt, right? It doesn't really make a difference what show they're on. They can be on both shows, right? Why not why you have one mid-card championship for the women's division? Why not just bring it on both shows? The women's U.S. champ should be on both shows, just like Bianca and Jade with the tag belts are basically on every single show, every single week, wrestling, right? That's how the belt should be portrayed. We've been waiting years for this. It makes no sense for us to get it and then only see it once a week on SmackDown, and it's barely featured probably for the first few weeks, right? So hopefully whoever wins this belt, which I do think it will be Chelsea Green, because compared to the other mid-carders that have a chance for it, it makes most sense for her to get it, and she is growing on me, okay? I respect her. I respect you. What's it called? Chelsea Green actually shows up to work. She's somewhat entertaining every now and then, at least, with her gimmicks or whatnot, even though her, Liv Morgan, and, Tiffany Stratton have similar gimmicks, but that's none of my business. Chelsea Green deserves it more than like a Blair Davenport or something like that. Also, quick shout out to that Michin versus Chelsea Green garbage match that took place. That was an absolute banger. Her work in the Money in the Bank this year was also pretty decent. So, yeah, I'd be okay with her being the mid-card champ. If I had to pick someone to win it, I would personally pick Naomi to win the mid-card championship. However, if they're not going to go with that, you have to go Chelsea Green. The Raw Women's Division, come on. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on. Realistically, though, if I were them, I'm bringing up women's talent from NXT. You know what I'm saying? Me personally, I'm putting Jada Parker in that mix. I'm putting Kalani Jordan's in that mix, Stephanie Vaquer, people who are actually really good in the ring and can offer a unique gimmick and actually get elevated by being in the mid-card women's championship picture, right? This is how you build up your women's division, by getting other women involved early. Kind of like how you had Lash and Jakara get involved in the women's tag team division with the tag belt match at Crown Jewel. This is how you upgrade some of your NXT women's talent early. Just have them be in these matches for these women's championships and just get it done, dog. They're elevated just like that. So I would hope that some NXT women come up and compete for it. If we're including NXT women, I think it would be great for Jada Parker or Stephanie Vaquer to get a good showcase with this. But it's probably going to be Chelsea Green or Naomi, and I'm fine with that either way. As long as the belt exists, we're good. Now we get on to the main event, the main ending part of the night. Solo Sikoa's official Tribal Chief acknowledgement ceremony, right? Basically what happens in this promo is this. Solo comes out, right? He basically, first off, Solo needs to stop doing the whatever city acknowledge me thing. It doesn't work for him, right? Because he says it in a normal tone. You're supposed to be like, Philadelphia! acknowledge me! But instead, Solo pretty much goes out there, he's like, Buffalo, acknowledge me. Yeah. Like, dude, we gotta stop that, man. Come out and put some intensity behind it, please. Solo basically says, acknowledge me, and then before he's about to say something else, Roman Reigns' music cuts him off. Roman Reigns comes down to the ring. He asks Solo Sikoa, I'm here by myself because I'm not going to acknowledge you. I'm going to challenge you. I want a 1v1 so we can settle who the real only tribal chief is. And Solo laughs it off. His new, charismatic laugh that he's been doing is pretty funny. And he basically says, I don't need to beat you because I already pinned you and you have nothing to prove anymore. You know what I'm saying? I'm the new tribal chief. You're nothing at this point. But what I will do is I will go to war. Us four versus you four, if you can find four other people in the back, because we got a fifth member. And Roman looks around confused. He's like, what are you talking about, bro? And then Solo Sikoa pretty much goes like, yeah, we have a fifth member. His name is Sami Zayn. Sami comes out to the ramp. And Roman Reigns is like, what the heck? And then Roman gets ambushed by the new Bloodline, right? They're basically 3v1ing him while Solo's laughing at him with his mic in his hand. And then Jay and Jimmy come up to try and help Roman. And then while they get the upper hand, though, because Jacob Fatu super kicks both of the Usos, after this happens, Roman Reigns is about to get spiked by Solo, but Solo motions to Sami, who's still standing on the ramp and hasn't moved. He's like, come here and haluva kick Roman in the face, bruh. You know what he's done to you, do it to him, man. And Sami gets up in the corner, he's about to hit the haluva kick, but he actually hits the haluva kick on Solo, right? So Solo gets clocked in the head with the haluva kick, and Sami's shoe flies off, I guess. So Sami's done doing haluva kicks in the corner, I guess. I guess it's all just going to happen in the ring now at this point. So Sami basically haluva kicks Solo in the face. Solo tries to fly out of the ring, but gets posted up. Well, actually, did he get put up against the ropes? I don't even know what happened. But Solo ends up getting speared by Roman Reigns, and that's pretty much that. Jacob Fatu gets Superman punched by Roman, and the OG Bloodline, I should say, are standing tall. And Roman and Sami have a little bit of a face-off, right? Jimmy and Jay are raising their ones to the sky because they're already in unity, you know what I'm saying? They're with this bloodline stuff. But Sami and Roman are looking at each other, and they're kind of have some animosity, but Roman has a realization. He's like, dang, bro, after all this time, Sami really is still here to help me. And then Roman kind of accepts him. They don't hug or anything like that, but Roman accepts him, and then they both end up looking at each other and raising their ones up, and then they get in position to make all four of them in one shot, and they're raising their ones to the sky, man. I really like the storytelling here. The reason I like the storytelling is because, look, there is obviously a rushed element to the reunion of the Bloodline. The reason why I think there is some sort of a rushed element to this new Bloodline, the OG Bloodline reunion and everything that's happened with Roman Reigns is simply because, obviously, the family tragedies that took place off screen. Roman Reigns' father passed away, I think, a couple months ago, and I'm pretty sure another family member, like their uncle, like the Usos' uncle or Roman's uncle, passed away as well, like a couple weeks before that, I'm pretty sure, right? So, I mean, I think it was Off and Sika, actually, both of them, the Wild Samoans, they both passed away, like a couple months ago, right? So, it obviously took a little bit of time. Roman was written off TV for like a month, I believe, when he returned after SummerSlam, a couple weeks after that, he was written off for a month, and that's kind of just how it had to be, man. There was an extra month of build-up, I'm sure. I'm sure Jimmy was slated to return earlier, but I think he got injured off screen, plus, the family losses and the family, time they had to grieve and everything. People were dying in their family and stuff like that, so there was a little bit of a holdup. But with what they've given us, right, the OG Bloodline returning in ways that make sense. These promos, these segments make sense. They're meaningful and impactful, and they're furthering the story in ways that make sense. That's the key with storytelling across any medium. If things make sense, they work. That's the number one merit. If it makes sense, I will watch it, and I will most likely enjoy it, because the entertainment and the fun impact is about to start literally next week, y'all. I'm telling you, the new stuff they're about to do with this Bloodline reunion, dude, there's going to be so many funny segments, Sami doing handshakes, the Usi will definitely be said on an episode of Smackdown, I'm sure, and there will be a lot of fun times ahead. Plus, the War Games match, the 4v4, is going to end up being absolutely awesome, most likely. And it will probably culminate in Solo versus Roman Reigns, probably at Saturday Night Main Event, for the Ula Fala and for the official title of Only Tribal Chief. Or after Survivor Series, The Rock returns, or The Rock returns at Saturday Night Main Event, or at Royal Rumble, or on a random episode of Raw like the one on Netflix in the first episode of January, right, of the first episode of 2025. Either way, I love the Bloodline story. It's the gift that keeps on giving, right? It's always going to be interesting, it's always going to be entertaining, and it's always going to have something to give you in terms of every single week to week. When Roman Reigns and the Usos and Sami are on the show, it's going to deliver. And when Paul Heyman comes back, greatness is amongst us. So overall, this episode of SmackDown was pretty average. It wasn't bad, it wasn't good. It was just kind of in the middle, right? And at the end of the day, that's all you can really ask for, I guess, right? I'll take an average show. If we're going to get this kind of quality show week to week, then I'm probably going to be okay with it as long as we get an episode here and there that's actually like good or above great. You know what I'm saying? So it is what it is. I'd give this episode like a 6 or a 7 out of 10. It was decent, right? It's okay. It's average. The best of the worst and the worst of the best. Let me know what you thought about this episode in the comment section below. And let me know if you're feeling oozy. Peace out. Have an amazing day. One love.